And welcome. Thank you guys for being patient. Technology, things happen. But man, I am so excited for you guys to meet Sara. We became friends on Facebook. I'm gonna open it up right now and see who is on. Oh, there we are. I see comments. Hey Elizabeth. Hey Ruby.
Oh,
Hi Christine.
how do I see comments? Do I see?
So you can pull up your Facebook on your computer,
Oh,
and then you can see them. Hey Beth. So I am very, very excited for everybody to join our Ask an Expert live. So in the past weeks, I have had somebody local that I've interviewed. We've talked to dog trainers, we've had vets on, we've done poop scoopers. Daisy Dews was actually my funnest man. I was hoping that they would do like a live how to pick up dog poop, but they didn't. But today I have somebody very special. So she is passionate about pets, and she loves people. She's a leader in her community, and I will post her community. If you guys haven't seen it, it'll all be in the comments. Welcome Rhonda, welcome Destiny.
hi
But
everybody.
hey everyone. So for those of you that don't know, I am a half breeder. I'm a half raw feeder, and Sara Garthly has helped me on this journey. She is a expert in her industry of pet nutrition with raw feeding, and I cannot wait for her to introduce herself. So Sara, I want you to tell us who you are. Tell us about your puppies. Tell us about how you got into raw. Tell us about your group. Tell us everything about you and who you are and what you're looking to do and how you can empower us.
Aw. Well, thank you for having me here. This is really exciting, and I have loved getting to know you and follow you, and it's been wonderful. My name is Sara Garthly. I right now, I currently have 3 dogs and a cat. Can't forget the cat. Um, I have a 13-and-a-half-year-old Rottweiler, a 9-year-old Kerry Blue Terrier, and then I have my 13-and-a-half-year-old son, a 6-month-old male Rottweiler, and then I have a 9-year-old Siberian cat. So I have been into dogs all my life. I used to dream as a little girl, you know how most people think about the house they're going to buy or the white picket fence. I would dream about what kind of dog I was going to own and all the things we would do together. So I've been a dog person all my life. I had the encyclopedia of dog breeds and all that stuff, and knew at 18 I wanted to do something with animals, and didn't know what it was, but it was going to be something with animals. Ended up becoming a pet groomer right out of high school. Worked for a standard poodle breeder, and then the woman who rented a room from her was a handler for the dog shows. So I learned how to groom on the poodles for a year, and then after a year she said, "Hey, you're ready for the dog shows. Let's go to the dog shows." So then I spent several years on the dog show circuit and going to all the dog shows and having lots of fun that way. And then I was a groomer for 32 years. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. It's really an art form. And anytime you do any kind of art, whether you're clay or cutting fur or canvas, anything, it's really your blood, sweat, and tears and your soul in that artwork. So I loved it. I could be dead tired and someone would say, "Oh, I love your haircut." And then I'd be like, raring to go for another 5 hours.
Isn't it amazing how you can get energized by that?
Oh, it was just so
See if
wonderful.
you can prop your phone up a little bit more so we can see a little more of your. There we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hold it.
I'm going to buy you a stand and I'm going to send it to you.
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. Don't be sorry. This is great. These are exciting. This is how we become, even experts, man. We may be experts in the pet, but it doesn't mean we're experts on lives, right?
Right.
And
Because
so
we all do our leadership in stages. Trying
we
to find
do.
trying to find something that I could use to prop up one, but I don't have anything.
No, you're totally fine.
Okay.
So while Sara maybe is trying to find something to do that, I want to thank everybody that's on. Beth, Gina, Christina, welcome. Hit the share, hit the like button. I have so I met Sara on Facebook. I actually like stalked her for a while. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's really got her stuff together. I've got to be, she's a huge influence. Like she knows what she's doing. I'm like, I gotta follow her. So I like very nicely requested her to be my friend on Facebook. And it's been a growing relationship since then. And I've learned so much about on her community. Raw's for Paws, and we'll post it all afterwards. So if you guys are interested in feeding Raw, she really empowered me though, because and we've got lots of questions. So if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the comments. We'll answer them after our main core ones. But she feeds venison and whole deer, and it's phenomenal to watch her dogs just dive right in, including her puppy, and introducing it. So I am ready to dive right in. Are you ready, Sara?
Yes.
Okay, so
Did I do enough on my background?
Yeah, okay. I think you're okay, and we can see at least your face now. Before you were like the guy over the fence, right?
Oh, well, see, I was able to see my whole face, so I'm glad.
Can you? So we can see a little bit of your ceiling, but we can see your face now. So I think it's just different, for everybody. But so she has compiled the top 10 questions that she gets a lot from people who are interested in becoming raw feeders. So we're going to get started. So first and foremost, our first question is, what is raw feeding, Sara? What is it?
Well, raw feeding is also called a species appropriate diet. And it's literally feeding raw meat, raw bones, raw organs. And it's our pets, dogs, cats, ferrets, they're carnivorous pets. Cats are obligate carnivores, which means they absolutely need meat in their diet to thrive. But our pets are carnivores, so it's important for them to be getting fresh foods, fresh meats in their diets. So it's literally species appropriate. Kind of like a horse would be grazing out in the field and getting their needed nutrition from the grass. Dogs, cats, ferrets get their needed nutrition from the meats.
Yes. And that is so true. That is so true. And if you can't feed raw meat to a horse, it's not going to work.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely.
So, next question. Why should I feed raw? Why should somebody feed a raw diet to their cat or dog specifically?
Okay. Well, the biggest thing is it's just healthier. It's like us eating a healthier diet versus McDonald's day in and day out. It's more appropriate to their body and their digestion. And like Dr. Karen Becker says, the veterinary field is the only healthcare providers that say fresh foods is dangerous. So it's healthier. That's the biggest reason. Other lots of benefits. One of the biggest benefits I find people are amazed at is the smaller stool volume. Ridiculously amount of reduced stool because they're absorbing everything about the food. Whereas with the kibble, they have all of the carbs and the fillers and everything, and dogs don't digest that, so they are pooping that out. With the raw, they digest everything and absorb everything. So it's not uncommon for a dog to just, have a stool movement once a day, maybe once every other day. And they're tiny. Like my 30-pound Kerry Blue Terrier, her poops are probably the size of a rabbit. They're tiny. Yes. And firm. And then if you don't pick it up, they just turn chalky white after a couple of days, especially if they ate a bone meal. Yep. Wonderful.
So let me ask you this. So while we're kind of on the subject, because we love to talk poop on our lives, like we love poop because poop is. I mean, even look, I have my poop emoji bug. I mean, we're rolling in it. So explain to me a little bit more about maybe a pup's, like what is a normal pup's poop, and on a raw diet, if it starts to change, when should somebody be concerned? So what's normal, and how do you watch it? Because I know with like kibble feeders and home cooked feeders, sometimes, obviously they go to diarrhea, they change in color, smell, and things like that. Is it the same for a pup's poop that's feeding raw?
It is. You definitely become a poop watcher on feeding raw. But that's also the language of the diet. So whereas with the kibble, because they have the additives in the kibble where it's, let's face it, the average pet person wants consistency. They don't want to, because they're taught to be afraid of diarrhea. They're taught to be afraid of different color. They're afraid to be taught, afraid of, of different smells, whatever. But with raw, that's really the language of the diet and the communication of the body. And it's not a negative. It's not a negative to be to be a little loose. With raw, if they're a little loose, you're like, okay, you need a bone meal, a raw meaty bone meal. If it's too firm, they're struggling to go to the bathroom. It's like, okay, you need some organs, or you need some more meat. Organs definitely create, a little bit more coming out of the poop chute a little quicker. But then that can be rectified by, okay, you had a little bit too much organ, let's feed a bone meal. So it's all about communication, and that tells you how you can better, how you adjust the diet. It's not day in and day out the same thing. There's a lot of adjustment. There's a lot of listening to the body, watching stools.
And that's also based off of what type of meat we're feeding, which we're going to talk a little bit about, correct? And
right.
Meat and or raw vegetables and things like that you can add to your pet's diets. And there's, oh man, the whole world is pretty amazing when it comes to raw feeding. So we have lots of questions coming in, and we're going to get to some of them, which actually are part of our prepared. So if we don't answer them, let us know. But the next question is, how much do I feed per day in raw?
It depends on your individual dog and their metabolism and their energy level. Obviously, a dog who is out being extremely active every day, you're going to feed a little bit more. A dog that's just a pet that goes for a walk around the block at night isn't going to need as much. The general rule of thumb is 2 to 3% of your dog's body weight per day.
Okay.
The average is 2.5%.
So Christina,
it's 2% if you want to lose weight, 3% if you want to gain weight or they're high energy.
Okay, so one of our pet pros, actually, she's a pet pro. Hey, Christina, she has a question, and she says, I struggle with knowing how much to give my Cavalier King Charles versus how much to give my English Springer Spaniels.
Okay, so then you would go by weight. I don't have a calculator in front of me, so you would take their total weight. Let's say your Springer weighs 45 pounds. You would multiply 45 pounds by 2.5%, and then that would be their daily intake.
And Christine, if maybe you can post weights of your pets after, maybe Sarah would be willing to come back and calculate that for you. So if you can post your pet's weights in the comments, and then after the live, Sarah can come back and she can help you with that in the comments, which is a great one. Actually, Sarah, if you could move your camera a little bit more, it seems like it might be moving just a little bit.
All right. What do I need to do it?
So put it so it's. Hey! Okay, yep, a little bit more, and it would be perfect. Or you sit up a little higher. It's weird how I can see you, like me and you, like when I see it on the screen, but when I look at the live, I still only see you from here up. Okay, perfect.
Is that it? Okay.
Well, maybe a little bit more.
So I'm not going to touch anything on the desk.
Or maybe sit up a little bit higher if you can.
Oh, you're kidding me, girl.
I know, right? I'm so needy.
Well, we were going to go through all this, and then I had to download Chrome.
I know we've had technical difficulties, but your information is absolutely invaluable.
It's not difficulty; it's all a learning curve.
And I hope you know that. I hope you know how valuable your information is.
Oh, thank you. I'm getting there. You know,
We're
because
all
I've
we're
just
all
done
learning.
it. I've just done it for so long, and I used to. Is this sitting better?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. We can definitely see. Well, it's just weird the way that the cameras are. Like what you see, we actually see from your chin up.
So you only see from my chin up, and
Uh-huh.
see on what I'm seeing, I'm like getting cut off at the eyes. Isn't
Oh, see. So we gotta if we could turn it. You're so pretty, and I love your new haircut.
oh,
We
thank
want to
you.
like we've got to like jam you out here.
Embrace the gray.
Yeah, we're embracing the gray and we're embracing the duck. If you guys
Yes.
didn't watch my live from yesterday, Sarah created a new teen hashtag called Embrace the Duck, guys. So we're gonna roll with it. So let's go to the next question,
Okay.
which is, what do I need to know before I start feeding raw?
Well, there are several ways to feed raw. Everybody feeds it differently, just like we feed ourselves differently. So you need to ask yourself what your level of commitment is. You know what? I'm just going to aim at chopping my eyes off, and then you'll see all of me.
There we go.
Okay. So you need to figure out what your level of commitment is and what your budget is. Because they have commercial raw where it's in a big tube and it has all of the meat, the bones, and the organs in patties. And that will be extremely convenient, just like scooping kibble out and plopping it in their dish. This will be picking a patty out and giving it to them. No, no worries, no thoughts, no whatever. Great for convenience, but that's also going to be a higher cost.
Okay.
So convenience is high cost. And then you have the do-it-yourself, which is also called prey model, which is a variety of parts, body parts, from a variety of animals. And with some legwork, more commitment, you can you can actually feed very inexpensively. I average probably $1. I upped it. I was $1 for the longest time, dollar per pound, and I've upped it to $1.50. The cat I'm much more lazy with, and I probably go up to like $3 a pound for her because I'm just lazy. And cats are very different. They're obligate carnivores, they're predators, they get imprinted on their food. And that's why they're known as being very picky, hard to transition, all of that good stuff. They
So
even
maybe
get.
we'll have to have you come back and do a cat edition of raw feeding versus dog edition.
Sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
awesome.
Um, so it's, and then there's also the whole prey where you feed complete rabbits, complete chickens. That's going to be half and half, a little bit costly, and some convenience. And in all honesty, I love that mug.
I'll send you one.
Not so much convenience, but you have to have a little bit of a backbone. I don't even want to say backbone, but like that. No, gore
I think
factor.
it's maybe not a backbone, but I think you have to be willing to, you're going to be involved in raw meats, raw organs, raw animals, and you're,
Right.
and sometimes people have a hard time with the raw.
And they have, and when you're doing whole prey, you're actually literally just feeding the rabbit fur on everything, and you're giving and giving it to them. So you have to be prepared, like a farmer mentality, and have that. I do a prey model because I happen to love watching my dogs do the involved workout with the ripping and the chewing and
Being natural in their element, right?
yes. Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's so much fun. And listening to the bones crunch. Oh, it's like music.
it is. And we've seen, if you guys join her Raw for Paws group, you're going to see that her profile picture is a full, is it a deer carcass?
Oh, on the raw for paws,
Yeah,
I
on your
think
Raws for Paws.
I think I can't remember what it is. Let me turn my.
I think it is. It's a great, she has a great community, guys, but it is, my husband and I and my family, we eat very natural. We're hunters. So we once a year go out and I bring the entire animal home. I process it myself. I keep organs. I keep legs and I butcher them down and I prepackage it and I freeze it. And it's a lot of work, but knowing that I get to feed that not only to my family throughout the year, but I get to feed it to my dog. And some of my local friends, they love it when I have to rotate out my freezer
Mm-hmm.
because I'll give away like 100 pounds of meat and I can't feed it all to Cedar at the same time. And so I go out on a Facebook post. Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm coming! I want it all!" Because we have that access to, being hunters. We do have that lie prey mentality, and Cedar does enjoy that as well. So I get that.
And now that I'm looking at the group cover photo, yes, that's a deer carcass.
Yeah, and so
Looks like a rib cage, I think.
it is,
That's my friends in Newfoundland.
which is great because you're going to meet. I mean, if you join her group, you're going to learn so much, and I love that. So the next question kind of comes is, aren't bones dangerous?
Yes, if they're cooked. Cooked bones break, snap, they're brittle. So cooked bones are an absolute no-no. Raw bones, however, especially chicken bones, are soft, pliable, break easily, break down, even in digestion, easily digested, breaking down in the stomach acid and everything. That said, you have to know your dog, because when the heavier the animal, the more dense the bones are. So you wouldn't, and then they can, break teeth if they're chewing on them. So you wouldn't want to give a small dog like beef bones, beef femur bones. They're carrying an awful lot of weight on the cow. So that's going to be more inclined to break teeth when, they're trying to chew. So you have to know your dog and know what their limit is. So you have to be the bone has to be appropriate to the size of your dog.
Which I have a 98-pound dog, so I worry a little bit less than maybe somebody who has a smaller dog, correct?
Right. So you don't want to give like, a toy poodle, a deer pelvis. That's going to be pretty firm, probably a tooth breaker. You could give them like a small dog like that, top of the shoulder blade, nice and flexible. That's actually what I did with Shire, my 6-month-old, as a puppy, and he was a little intimidated by bones because he was raised on kibble, kibble and meat, but no bones. So he had no clue what bones are, even chicken bones. He was like, "What is that?" So I took the top of the shoulder blade, the scapula, and it's all soft and flexible. So I would chop that up. I actually think I have a video of it.
I was going to say there is a video, and I don't know if maybe we could, I don't know if you could, if you join her group, great. Maybe we can get it on YouTube or something, create a link.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But he was so cute. I would hand it to him, and he would do his little munching and then swallow it, and that's how he got bone for the first couple of weeks. Thank goodness I had so many, shoulder blades. But it's knowing your dog and what they're capable of and not giving them too much.
Yeah.
The harder bones, because why risk it? And then it's also like knowing like turkey necks. For me and my size dogs, they're the perfect size of an esophagus or, trachea.
Mm-hmm.
They scare me too much to feed. Other people have no issues and feed them. But it's just, I'm one to, why risk it? It's not worth it. I personally really have no interest in doing the Heimlich maneuver on my dog just for choosing to feed this way. So it's just about being sensible too with the bone.
And like Cedar, he'll chew, like Cedar and esophagus he'll chew on them, but Cedar's not an aggressive
Right.
raw feeder, so I don't have to worry about that with him. But when we're out in the field and he's with us, and that's one of the things my husband just throws, and he's like, great.
Do you get the antlers or anything like that?
So yeah, we do. I cannot let Cedar have access to them because we're turning him into a shed hunter. So I need him to have the ability to go find the sheds and not eat the sheds. So we don't allow him to chew on antlers.
So are the antlers that are, no, look at me, I'm asking you questions on my the expert. But this is good for my knowledge too. Are the antlers, because you know more about antlers, are the antlers that they sell commercially, are they sheds?
I cannot answer because it depends on where they're getting them from. Does that make sense? So the DWR here in Utah, different things like that, we can't sell as a hunter. I cannot sell the products that I create or make if it was from my own feed. It has to be given as a gift. We
Right.
cannot purchase it from
Yeah,
it.
that's the same.
But
Yeah.
they get a lot of the poachers in that, and they have DWR programs here in Utah that families that are lower income that need the meat, they can get on a list to get these animals. And if the animals are roadkill and something along those lines, then the animals are taken and given away and can be used, and the antlers are sold either as sheds or not. So it depends on what they're doing. There are some hunters out there that collect the sheds and will give them, they'll create them out of a business, but I'm not really sure how it works in other states.
Interesting. Yeah. And I've picked up a roadkill or two and butchered them for my dogs. I've also butchered goats. I think I've done two. I don't think I've done any sheep, but I've done 2 goats and a deer or 2.
Oh, I can do deer and elk all day long.
It's
So
fun. It's
it
just
is.
it's so amazing because I remember having it's just this overwhelming feeling of being in front of this animal and going, this is amazing. This animal used to be alive. All of these cells used to be alive and functioning to give this animal life. And in its death, it's giving my dog's life. It was I just gained such a huge respect and admiration for the whole circle of life. More so since I've started raw feeding. It's just
Wow, how empowering is that?
yeah.
I feel the same way because, as a female hunter, I can provide for my family. I know that in that death comes life to my children, my two-legged children and my four-legged children, including myself. It gives me life and strength and knowing that I'm not eating McDonald's, right? I am eating natural. And if I go out and grow my garden, which my husband and I have, then we're feeding the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
And I know where my meat comes from. I know how it was touched. I know how it was processed. And I know how it goes into not only my dog's mouth, but my mouth. So I love that aha moment.
Yeah. It was really, really cool. And
The next question is where do I buy the meat? That was also a question of one of one of our live viewers as well. So where do I buy the meat?
okay. Obviously if you're doing the commercial raw, you have the variety of the commercial product. And I still recommend, like I said, the key to a healthy raw diet is variety. So whether you're doing the commercial raw and everything's in that little patty, I still recommend rotating, not only through the company's different flavors, but also rotating companies, because no one company has everything. I even did that with kibble. Way back when I fed kibble, I would rotate through kibble. But for the do-it-yourselfers, it's a lot of networking. So it kind of, so when I got involved with network marketing, I was like, oh, I'm used to this. Right?
Yep.
You never, obviously the supermarket, you watch for sales. It is almost like a welcome to the dark side. You can never walk into a supermarket again and not head to the meat market and see what sales are there. Get your price point. Like I said, mine's usually $1.50. Sometimes I'll go up to $2, and then I know the next thing I buy has to be more like around $1. So you get your budget per pound. And if you go into the supermarket, you look for those sales and talking to other raw feeders. Facebook has some amazing groups, co-op groups local
Oh, yes.
to,
Co-op groups are huge, guys. If you guys are interested in those co-op groups are amazing. And you
yeah,
can get them in your local areas, correct?
yeah, yes. I used to actually manage one in Austin when I lived in Austin, Texas. And then when I moved here to the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I was used to all that variety of a co op, I was like, oh my gosh, there's nothing up here. So, with a friend's help, I helped organize and manage a co op here in the Philadelphia area. So, co ops are huge. Sales at the supermarket, talking to your butcher. Um, Sometimes is a score, sometimes not, because they're more into um, cutting things up small, like cutting things up small. Um,
I'm best friends with my butcher, my local butcher, because I will buy frozen turkeys during the during the sell season, and I'll
mhm,
have him slice them in half for me,
right,
and he will he will break things down for me, and I get chicken at a certain point. I'm like, oh, it's fishing bait, right? And
right.
so make friends with your local butcher if you
Yes,
haven't. It will
yes,
make a difference.
absolutely. And sometimes it takes a little bit of education on your part to educate the butcher exactly what you want.
Mhm.
Like my brother got a deer this past year, and I told the butcher, "Oh, I want all the bones back." I'm thinking how I get them from my other butcher deer processor. I get the whole carcass. I get whole legs, leg bones. I get the whole pelvis. Everything came back chopped to about that size. And
Oh my gosh.
because all of their other clients,
Yeah.
so sometimes it takes some educating if you're working with a butcher.
It does, but it can be totally worth it. So
Yes.
I want to bring this question up because this kind of moves us into our next couple of questions that we have. Um, this is Beth Bowman, and her question is: she has 5 dogs, 100 pounds each, so she's got 500 pounds of dogs in her house. How would you suggest supplementing their nutrition with partial raw? Without breaking the bank. So Beth, too, I am half kibble and half raw feeder. I do both. I have the opportunity because I have to be, I have to share with my dog has to share with my family. So how do you suggest that, Sarah?
I actually find it's easier to shop for the larger dogs. And especially when you have a large amount, a lot of dogs, you can actually do your own bulk buying right from the purveyors. Ask your supermarket, where do you get your chicken from? Where do you get your, I don't know, pork from or whatever? It might be someone right in the area, and you can go right to that supplier and say, hey, I want to order a 40-pound case of pork butts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to order 40 pounds of, chicken thighs. Or I want to order 40 pounds of whole chickens. So I've always found shopping for bigger dogs easier. It just takes a little bit more legwork at finding the, like the supermarket is the middleman, find the source. Like go to the suppliers of the supermarkets and buy in bulk.
Yeah. And we
Obviously,
have we have
obviously,
a local butcher here, and you can go and actually do that and pick up like a lot of leftover organ meat, and you can pick up leftover bones and femurs and
mm-hmm,
radiuses and the whole 9 yards, including we have some people that they'll save the whole ribs and spine as
mm-hmm,
well. So if there is one in your area, you can go directly to that, which is a great, great note.
right. And it's just just don't stop talking. Don't stop asking. It took me 5 years to find my deer processor, and now and I found it through a friend, and he does all 4 months of hunting season in my area because it goes from like was
And
it
if you're in
large.
Utah, I can help you with that. I know where it all is.
Yeah.
I know who to talk to.
Yeah, but she takes the first 2 months. I take the second 2.5 months, and it's a lot of work in those 2.5 months. But he gives me so much trim and bones that I feed my dogs for free for the year.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Here's a great question. This one's coming in from Ruby Davis. It says, I feed raw, but sadly, one of my catahulas can only eat kibble due to severe IBS. I can't even give him supplements. I know that this isn't really a question, but do you have any suggestions for pets that do have gastrointestinal issues or, irritable bowel syndrome?
I do know there's an IBS group on Facebook. I would also recommend, because I'm very holistic based, I myself, as well as my dogs, have been under the care of a homeopath for 13 years. I also utilize chiropractic work, acupuncture, all of that good stuff. Chinese herbs. I would look into like a leaky gut syndrome and get to work with a holistic vet who is aware up on that stuff and try to correct the leaky gut syndrome, because
So I'm
so
going to jump in here because there is what's called, there is an irritable bowel syndrome in pets. So my previous, before I became into Patria, I was a nutritional advisor in a vet clinic, and it's called EIP. And basically the body, the intestines, everything inside cannot break down the food, whether it's kibble, whether it's raw, whether it's home cooked. The body just cannot break down the food, and so sometimes adding an enzyme, like an enzyme to it, a digestive enzyme to your pet's diet, will actually help the body process those enzymes, break down the food, so that the guts can actually absorb the nutrients and put it back into your health. So
right.
if it is IBS and there is an issue depending on what you feed, look into some of the digestive enzymes if you prefer raw, because I believe that there is an option where you could completely go to raw and be okay finding the right supplements to help the gut. Would you agree with me, Sarah?
Yes. Looking at a whole health aspect, if a carnivorous pet can't eat their normal designed food, there's a deeper issue, and you address that issue, and that'll heal the whole animal. So absolutely agree.
Here's a new question. So this one's from Christina. It says, so should I have let my dog keep the rabbit he caught the other day and let him eat the fur and all?
With wild game, you want to freeze it for at least 3 weeks. I think with rabbits, there's some.
So trichinosis is in bears.
Yeah, that's it.
Trichinosis is in bears. It's usually found in a predator animal.
It's also in wild boar.
Okay.
But
Which wild boar, they actually eat meat.
What's that?
Wild boar actually eat meat.
Right.
They can be carnivorous as well.
Wild rabbits, and it's only seasonal, and it's escaping me what it's called. But with wild rabbits, there is something at a certain time of year. I'll look it up, and I can.
Yeah, look it up and come back and comment on this post, because I would like to learn that as well, because we do go out, and here in Utah we have certain seasons where we can hunt cottontail rabbits. Mm-hmm. We love to go out and collect those.
Right.
Yeah, those are great.
I always wild game over supermarket, hands down, because you really want the diet at least 50% red meat and all game, whether it's wild turkey, geese, rabbit. It's all red meat if it's game, which is really interesting.
That's great. That is interesting. That's great to know, though.
Yeah, because chicken, if it's raised on the farm, like feedlot, is considered all white meat.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
What about duck and pheasant?
It has to do with like the slow twitch and fast twitch of the muscles.
Okay. Do you do duck and or wild pheasant in your area?
I would do it for my cat. My dogs, just because I get so much venison, probably would feed the venison over the wild duck and the pheasant, only because I get so much venison. The
Which
cat,
makes sense.
the cat, absolutely. I do more poultry based for the cat than the dogs.
Perfect. That's good to know. I can't wait to do the cat live. So if I start feeding raw, will my family or I get sick from raw feeding?
No, it you know unless you're a vegetarian and never touch meat, chances are any pathogens that are around raw feeding, you're already subjecting yourself to by handling your own dinners. It's
Mm-hmm.
just common sense. After you handle the dog's meat,
Mm-hmm.
wash the bowl, even though I don't feed in a bowl. But wash the bowl, wash your hands, wipe down the counter. It's the
No
same.
different than the way we prepare and prep our dinner every
Right,
day, right?
right. Exactly, exactly. It's just, being mindful. But I've been feeding so long, in all honesty, I just really, I just merely use hot water after I touch the meat.
Which
You
is true.
know,
That's what I do. I mean, when we're processing and butchering our own, animals here at home, I mean, we're just very cautious and very careful and very due diligent not to do cross contamination. We wash our hands, just basic common sense. And nobody in my family has ever gotten sick from anything like that because we prep, we wash, we store it, we process it, we package it, and we freeze it. There is a rhyme, what is it? Rhyme to our madness, right?
mm-hmm. Right, right. And there is an element of truth that you have to eat a pound of dirt, before you die, kind of thing. And when you're around all of this stuff, you get a healthier immune system because you're around it. It's when you put yourself in this bubble and you're constantly doing the antibiotic hand soap and bleaching everything. It's bubbles don't work.
So it's true. It's true. So funny fact about me, nobody knows this but my husband, but I think I'm probably going to share it today. So I have a real issue touching store-bought meat. I actually will not, with my bare hands and or with gloves, touch any store-bought meat. Lamb, chicken, pork, roast, you name it. If it was bought in a store, I physically cannot touch it with my hands. It makes me dry heave until I throw up. But I can, however, be in the field and process my own deer, my own elk, my own animals, knowing from point A to point B exactly where they've been, what they touched, how it was handled, how it was cut, and all the way through the freezer. I have no issues touching that. It's because I have this growing up and being raised. Um, my name Elka. I was I was born on the elk hunt. I was raised this way. I'm very cold. We're very, in the core of my life. That was how I spent it. And we raise our children that way, but I cannot touch store-bought meat. So there you go. There's something new about me
Yeah.
because
Wow.
I don't know where it came from. Um, let's move on. So, how do you feel about adding supplements to your raw diets? And when I say supplements, I'm not talking about sardines and raw eggs. I'm not talking about, eggshells for calcium and different things like that. I'm talking about superfoods, digestive enzymes, salmon oil, probiotics, um, for people, let's say, that maybe are half raw and half kibble. How do you feel about that? Because pottery, I have quite a few raw feeders. They're not as hardcore as you are, Sarah, but I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of raw feeders, and they will try our superfoods and they will try our probiotics. And instead of doing sardines and things like that, they'll use our salmon oil. How do you feel about that?
I used to be, you don't need any supplements, all that. I used to be in that camp. Um, but I also did so much variety and so many different parts. And then as my dogs got, especially Caver, as Caver got older, there is absolute value in supplements because especially farm feedlot. I don't want to say farm raised because that's still different in supermarket meat. But feedlot animals, they're not getting all of the wild grasses and, all of that stuff. So we do need to supplement to fill in those gaps that our meats are not providing us, because the soil, even if they are out eating grass, I mean, the soil is still so depleted. So, yes, I'm much more into supplements. And I'm also, especially with the help of Rodney Habib, he's got
I love
great.
Rodney. I knew him before he was where he's at today, and he is phenomenal.
Oh, that's awesome. But I used to be, no veggies. If you do feed veggies, only a small amount, because they get their nutrition from the meat and don't take away from the meat and everything. But he's got some really good evidence about the importance
Oh,
of
there.
what vegetables bring. I still choose not to feed them, but I've never had an issue with someone who does choose to feed them.
So I'm a big vegetable feeder. And I'm going to, since we're kind of on the topic of nutrition, I really kind of want to encounter this, if you don't mind, because both of us have, kind of our own wavelengths, and we're all about the health and wellness of pets, right? And whatever you can afford is better than nothing. Like if you were to feed a bowl of kibble, this is my essence, is there's no right diet for any specific pet. It's about what the pet does well on.
Right.
In my mentality, whether that's raw, kibble, or home cooked. But if you're looking to increase your pet health in any way, shape, or form, if you were to take out 1 tablespoon of kibble and replace it with some sort of vegetable, you are increasing the nutrition in your diet. When you start to increase a little bit of raw and or vegetables along with your kibble diet, because you can't afford it, you are still increasing nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
When you add supplements to a kibble diet, like omegas, because it is a dry processed baked food, however it is, because there's some phenomenal diets out there. I sell one, I get it. But when you increase omegas, when you add superfoods, which we're going to send you a bottle of pawPairings because I want your feedback on it. But I do believe that there is increased nutrition that you can do while you are in the process of learning, whether raw is for you or you're in the process of getting there. There is a pathway and a roadmap that you can take to increase your pet's diet with raw vegetables and increase that nutrition. And Dr. Karen Becker, she is big on following that, and a lot of holistic vets are. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I'm just a really big advocate for whatever you can do to increase that kibble.
Right.
To make it better than anything.
Right. I used to be, you have to go all raw and everything. And then just the more I've started wanting to be a holistic pet health coach and listening to Dr. Becker and Rodney, and Rodney really has helped open my eyes. It is that, like Dr. Becker says, it's like just anything to increase the health, even if it's only adding kale. I mean, Rodney Habib quotes that study. Where was it, at Penn or something? U of P or whatever, where the Scottish Terriers.
Mm-hmm.
He added a tablespoon of kale, and the bladder cancer incidence went down 90% or something.
The dog food cancer series, if you guys haven't had a chance to watch it, I do highly recommend it. I mean, I feed pottery kibble. Cedar has thrived on it since he was a puppy. I happen to be a hunter with my family, so I have access to raw, so Cedar gets the best of both worlds. But there is a lot of truth in adding nutrition and supplements and those omegas. And we have a superfood for a lot of people. If you guys haven't heard, of it, Pottery's discovered that you don't like to eat the same thing every day, and neither do your pets.
Right.
If that isn't the truth all the way across the board, I don't know what is. But most people don't want to change their diet. They don't want to change the kibble, or they're afraid to go to raw, or they don't want to home cooked it. So how do you do that? How do you add variety to a pet's diet, but keeping it healthy, right? Our pawPairings are what provides that for those people that want to increase it but can't. We've got something for you. And, as far as raw and eggs, and don't you use raw eggs?
Oh, you can. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's like nature's perfect meal.
Yes. And but let's talk about store-bought eggs versus farm fresh eggs, because store-bought eggs are more likely to have a gloss on
I
it.
have to go for a little walk because I have 7% on my phone. So
That's okay. So we're almost done anyways because we've been on way too long. But
I could do this all day long.
grocery store eggs, you just want to crack them. If you're going to get farm fresh eggs, they can actually, your dog will eat the whole egg. So yes. There is a difference, and you do have to be careful. But it is really fun. I've given Cedar a farm fresh egg before, and he bites down on it, and he thinks it's fun. So we might lose her. I think we might have lost Sarah. But yep, I think we might have lost Sarah. I'm sorry. Are you there?
I'm back. I'm back.
So, Sarah, I am so thankful that you came today.
Sorry about that.
I am so glad we had a great time. I want to put together a cat raw feeding series. Come back and ask and answer any questions and post your information in the comments. But I'm really excited for the journey to learn more from you, learn more about you, connect with you, and see how we can partner to help, change the lives of pets and their people.
Yes. Yes, yes. And is this on the questions? Are they on that link that you sent me? Okay.
I will tag you and I'll send you in it, and you'll be able to see the questions and get those answered. So thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate you coming to the Ask an Expert Live. Keep your eye out every Thursday at 11:30. We're going to ask an expert in their industry how we can change the world of pets and people. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.